it all cleaned up and put away.
Hello, happy Friday. How's everyone doing? I am Dakota, and I'm here with Myra Galt, who is a special guest today, where we're going to be talking all about her favorite things to talk about, which is our seminars about special needs families, and some of the interactions we have with them, right?
Yep.
How are you doing today, Myra?
I'm doing good.
Doing pretty well?
I haven't been on Facebook Live in forever. So it's kind of fun. And it's nice to see you.
Let me give us the border. All right. So we already have a few people that are arriving here. Everyone, if you're here, go ahead and leave us a comment, say hi, let us know how you're doing. Also, ask any questions you have for Myra. We only have her every once in a while. It's pretty rare. So if you have any special questions, ask Mrs. Galt here. Go ahead and drop them in the comment section. But before we get into our main topic, we're going to be talking about the seminar topics. But before we get into that, for the people who are new, people who don't know you or watching this later, do you want to just start and give us a brief overview of who you are and how and why you started Galt Advocacy?
So I know recently I've been talking to families and they don't really know why Galt Advocacy exists. And so we thought it might be nice for me to share that with some of our newer viewers. I'm the mother of 7 birth children, and my third born was Ryan, and he was born with a lot of anomalies, medical, and he passed away when he was 18 from his disabilities. And we also had adopted, in our 30s, we thought we could save the world, 3 newborn babies with Down
syndrome. Everyone does in their 30s.
And they're still babies. They're my babies. The girls still live with us, and they're in their early 30s. And our son lives in a special house with a friend of ours. But our son Ryan passed away, and prior to his passing, my husband and I, I was an educator and a homeschooling mom and a lot of stuff. But right before he passed away, there was a really lovely hospice social worker. And she came into our home and saw my son was dying. She saw our 3 kids with Down syndrome. And she says, "Why don't you have IHSS?" And I said, "Isn't that where they come and give the kids baths?" And she goes, "Well, it's more than that." And I said, "Well, I called them and they said they don't help with kids." And she thought, "Oh no, what a lie." And then we realized there were some other benefits that Ryan and my other kids had never received. So I went on a journey.
And this was a while ago. This was before, obviously before we existed,
yes.
Before a lot of advocacy
yes.
agencies existed. This was
he passed
20
away
years ago.
Well, he passed away in 2004. And for 6 years, I studied law under some attorneys. And I studied every public benefit there is: Social Security, Medi-Cal, IHSS, regional center services. And I had a background in education, so I kind of already knew a lot about special education. And before Galt Advocacy existed, my husband and I owned a non-public school locally here in Sonoma County. And so after learning what I learned, I felt there needed to be someone out there that would tell families what's available, how to get it. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough. We couldn't just tell people, because we'd tell them and the same thing would happen to them. They would get denied.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually we opened our doors to help parents navigate through all the public benefit systems and get the IHSS that they need and other benefits. We help people get the right amount of regional center services. And so now, years later, every year, about twice a year, I travel somewhere in California and have a seminar where we invite people for free. It's usually at a hotel. And I talk about all the different benefit packages or different benefits that children and adults need. And so people come and learn about that.
Mm-hmm. And that's there's a wide variety of topics that we talk about at these seminars. Mm-hmm. There's regional center, IHSS, of course, that we the same things that we typically talk about here on our lives, regional center, IHSS, SSI. What else? What other topics do we talk about
Special
usually?
education.
Special education, of course.
Mhm.
Do we have a section? I mean, because I know you know about adoption assistance, but is there a section on that during?
Well, I used to do a lot of adoption assistance cases because parents who adopt can be paid an adoption. It's kind of like foster care, but it's not foster care. It's an adoption payment. But when children are severely disabled or regional center clients, they get a higher rate.
Mm-hmm.
I had quit doing those cases, but I'm going to announce on this show today that I am no longer doing court because I have two guys that are doing all of our court cases.
Ah, yes.
But one of them, Lewis, and those of you that are working with us already might get to meet Lewis or have. He worked for the county and he jumped sides.
Shock.
Yes. And he knows all about AAP. And so because I'm getting old, he is taking on, we're looking at AAP cases again. Up until recently, I was just giving people free advice about adoption assistance. But now we actually are able, with his help, to take on those cases as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
difficult for him to switch the mindset from the county to your kids.
We might have to ask him about that. But
Well, I've talked to him. Let me tell you how I got him. Should I tell you?
Ryan,
how
repeat
I
her
got him?
question if you didn't hear.
We got, the peanut gallery over here is giving us orders. Like we don't know what we're doing.
As per usual.
Okay, so let me tell you how I got Lou. We call him Lou. His name is Louis Stearns. He worked for a county. I'm not going to say which one. He worked for a county, and I would go up against him because when you go to court, the county has someone that represents the social workers, and I represent the family, right? Mm-hmm. So we were in a hearing one day, and in front of the judge, we had it out. We were not nice to each other. It was really bad. And
that's rare for you.
Oh, yeah.
In front of a judge, like that never happens.
Only that one time. So I went home, and everybody knows I'm a woman of faith, and I prayed, and I felt God wanted me to call him and apologize. And my first thought was, he's the one that should call me and apologize. So I called him, and he admitted that what he said was inappropriate, and we ended up talking for a couple of hours, and we became friends. And he got fed up with the county, and so he called and said, can I work with you? I would rather help families than. He got tired of seeing the corruption. And if there's any social workers or people watching today, I apologize if you're a good one, but there's a lot of corruption out there. So he's now working for us, and he knows all the public benefits as I do. He knows a lot of stuff that I don't know. So it's nice to have him. And then I'm not really retiring because I'm here, but I don't have the burden of preparing for court every day.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm thrilled.
All right. Now, before we get into our topic, there's one last thing I wanted to say about your story. Going back to that for just a moment.
Okay.
So when you were there and you first learned about IHSS, you had Ryan, who was on hospice. You had 3 young children with Down syndrome. And how many other children in your home at that time?
Oh, at that time, nobody was married. So they,
all of them.
All of them. So I have 7 birth children, 3 adopted with Down syndrome. So that's 9.
That's 10, isn't it?
10. Sorry. Well, number 10 came later on. God has a sense of humor. I had her at 46.
Oh, okay.
So I had 9 back then.
You had 9 at that point.
9.
And so the social worker
too.
And so for one, when the nurse came in, told you about it, and then the social worker later on, it was a zoo in your home, right?
Well, I'm one of those moms that's like a drill sergeant.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If it's out of order or messy, my brain stops working. So things have to be in order. And so my oldest daughter's that way. My second daughter, Melissa, poor thing. She has 6 kids with ADHD. She can't keep her house perfect.
Oh, goodness.
But anyway, no, we had a big house. People always thought, ooh, a big house, but with so many people, the square footage
doesn't feel so big.
It doesn't feel so big. So yeah, it was a blessing when we got the benefit, because here I was running the show by myself. Mm-hmm. In fact, we got adoption assistance for our 3 adopted, but I didn't even know about that in the beginning. And
like you said, there was no one to tell you about any of it.
No one. And no one wants to tell you if they work for those benefits.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our main topic. So if you hear, I see a couple people are here. Hi to Christy, and hi to Bricerli. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Bricerli. And Marissa, hi to you as well. She said, "Thank you, Myra. If it weren't for your connections to help mom, wouldn't have PS today. Adore you and all that you do, even if you are semi-retiring." It's all right. We will hold on to her for a very, very long time.
I don't plan to
Be sure of
retire.
that.
I'll retire when God takes me home, or he takes my brain. And I can't
So
be
thank
here.
you all for being here. Now, some of you may have been to our seminars before. If you have, let us know how they were and how much you loved them and how much you loved hearing from Myra. But if you haven't, that's what today is all about. We're going to talk about some of our favorite things about the seminars, favorite things that you love to share with families. So this might be hard to come up with on the spot, but if you were to choose like one most vital piece of information that you want everyone to know about, and that's what you always are want to share at the seminar, what would you say is that?
Well, I have to admit, I go there and a lot of people come to hear about IHSS and how they as a parent can get paid. However, we always end up getting into some heavy conversations at these seminars about special education issues. For example, this last seminar I did in Burbank, a mom started talking about how she drops her kid. She has 3 special needs children, and one of them, well, 2 of them actually, she drops them off, and an hour or 2 later, the school is calling and saying, "Come get them. We can't take care of them. They're going crazy." And I looked at her and I said, "That's illegal." And as soon as I said it, several other moms said, "Well, that happens to my kid all the time." So people, are really struggling in our special education system. And so when we do these seminars, I probably spend an equal amount of time on IHSS and special education. So I will say that that's usually a really hot topic for families.
Let me ask you about that. So when you say that's illegal, they can't have you, like, what can be done about it? What should a parent do if the school tells them, "Hey, your child's too much of a problem. They're a mess today. You got to come back and get them." What's the parent do in that situation?
Well, having owned a non-public school, I know the rules and the federal regulations pretty well. And a school can't do that.
Okay.
The school is required to figure out how to take care of that child and give them the best possible education. So if a child is having behaviors, the school is required to send to have the child go through a psychoeducational evaluation for behavioral problems, and a behavior intervention plan is required. And then the behavior intervention plan must be implemented into the IEP. The problem is, for the school to do that costs money. We're talking money again. So to have a new psychoeducational evaluation done, sometimes even outside of the school district by another party, and a behavior intervention plan with someone hired to go in and implement that in the classroom, we're talking a few $1,000s, quite a few. So schools save money by having the parent come get them. Now, why would they call after she drops them off? Because they're getting the money from the state and the federal government. They're getting the money for them after they do the attendance. They say they're here. Now they're going to get paid that day. So parents need to know, if your child, if you're being called to take your child home, there's a problem and you need to address it, because that it's their watch. They're supposed to be doing what the law tells them to do.
Okay. Is there maybe an area, a particular law or set of laws that you would tell parents to search out as far as where to find, like, if you wanted, they're having this problem with the school's calling them saying, "You need to come pick up your child." What should the parents say to say, "Well, no, according to this rule or regulation, this set of rules,
Right.
you need to take care of this."
You don't want your child to be treated inappropriately. So you come and get them. When you do that, you're going to put in writing, immediately in writing, not just verbally. In writing, I want an emergency IEP meeting right away. And don't send them back to school.
Okay.
Because when they're not at school, what happens? The school doesn't get any money, right? So you're going to keep them home until that'll light the fire to get them get that IEP meeting going.
So if you're not putting anything in place to deal with this, if you can't keep my child safe, then they're not going to go with you.
Until we have this IEP meeting and figure out what to do. Now, one of the things that we have a problem with is many of the behaviors that our little kiddos that we serve engage in at home are also happening at school. And parents will say, well, this teacher hasn't said anything, or the IEP, and judges, when we go in front of judges, will say, well, the IEP doesn't say he's banging his head or eloping. So parents lose the opportunity to get the benefits because the IEP doesn't have any information about those behaviors. So it's vitally important that at an IEP meeting, a parent make sure to mention under parent concerns what behaviors they're encountering at home. And I have a little trick. I tell parents to record every IEP. You have to give them a 24-hour notice that you're going to record the IEP. Record it, and then you're going to play.
If you give them notice, they have to. They have to allow it.
Yes,
Okay.
24-hour notice. But then here's our little trick. So your child is an eloper and a headbanger and bites themselves. You know that during school they're not going to stop biting. So why isn't it in the IEP? Here's what you're going to do. You're gonna, I guess you could say, smooge the IEP team, and you're going to say, my child bites his arm constantly. He's anxious. I just want to know what you guys are doing to prevent that or work with that so I can do the same thing at home. So now you're kind of complimenting them. They must be doing such a good job. They're not talking about it. Then what you are going to hear is, well, when he does that, we do X, Y, and Z. What have they just admitted?
That it
and
happens.
It's recorded.
On record that it does happen at school, even though it's not in the IEP.
Correct. So those are that's a little advocate trick that we can pull. Our special ed department is swamped, so I'm willing to give anybody any advice because we just can only take a few cases at this time. We are training another advocate, but it'll be at least a year before she's ready.
All right. So I just want to repeat for anyone who came in late that if you have any questions, any follow-up questions, any of the things we talk about, or other questions for Myra, go ahead and drop in the comment section. We'd be happy to cover anything people want to talk about today. But for now, it looks like a few more people said hi. Hello. Thank you all for being here. So you said half is usually on special education. The other half, a big part, of course, is IHSS. Now, it's hard to narrow it down to just one thing. But if there was like a most important thing that families should know, maybe something that a lot of people who go to seminars are like surprised by, what would you say is a surprising thing that people typically don't know about IHSS?
The eligibility criteria for protective supervision.
Oh, okay.
I'm a mommy of kids who are difficult, and I've been doing this work a long time. So, excuse me, allergies. So, I will tell you that protective supervision is only for in the home. So when a parent calls us and I say, so what are your concerns? They do this to the social worker and they'll do this with the judge. And this is why they lose. They'll say, well, when I'm at the store, if I don't hold on to him, he runs out into the parking lot, or he'll run into the street, or when I'm at the park, he does X, Y, and Z.
Eats things,
Yeah.
falls off the play set.
All of that's good information for us as advocates to have about their case. But when we're fighting for protective supervision, we will put those items under one category called poor judgment. But truly, to be eligible, the child must have behaviors that can happen at any time of the day or night. So, for example, when my child touches a hot pot when I'm cooking, well, you're not cooking at 2 a.m. So that's not a 24-hour need.
Only very specific times of the day is that a problem. Right?
Correct. But that shows the poor judgment, but it doesn't give us protective supervision yet. The other thing is we have a lot of kiddos whose parents say, well, their memory is pretty good and they know where the snacks are kept. They know what day it is. They know what time it is, but they have all these behaviors. Well, to meet the eligibility criteria, their memory has to be off because of their autism or whatever, and their orientation. Now, it doesn't mean they have to be void of any memory or void of any orientation, I have to laugh because social workers always, and judges too, try and make it sound like they have to be walking around blah, 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 and they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen times where the especially judges, unfortunately, almost seem to make it seem like a person has to be completely, like, almost in a vegetative state, like completely incapable of making any choices, any actions whatsoever,
Right.
to be qualified. And ironically, a person who is completely unable to act in any way probably doesn't qualify for
I was
protective
just going to say
supervision.
that when they're in a vegetative state, they don't hurt themselves. So it's a fine line. And the other thing that parents, when I talk to them, they have this idea that if they are denied and they appeal the decision, that they're somehow going to get a good result. Here's the real truth. The judges are way more difficult than a social worker. And parents can't go into an appeal and tell their story. Doesn't work that way. You come into the appeal and all you're allowed to do is answer the judge's questions. You can't give the judge a lot of back information. So parents typically lose on the appeals because they don't know the regulations, then they don't realize. And they also, have things like, well, the social worker is really rude to me, and judges are going to shut you down. They're not going to hear that because the behavior of your social worker is irrelevant, and they don't have jurisdiction over those sorts of things. So parents need to understand, in this day and age, you almost can't win without a professional. Not that we're begging for work because we're swamped, but and I probably should add right now, because we're getting a lot of calls, and this is nothing to do with seminars. We're getting a lot of calls. Parents are worried about the budget that the federal budget that's going out and what's going to happen with IHSS. We had a lady come in the office this morning, and she's all worried. She thinks IHSS is going away. There's not going to. No.
I've seen a lot of concern about that online as well. Yeah.
That isn't happening. Because I'm on other committees other than owning this company. I was part of a budget conversation with the governor of California and the head of Health and Human Services, Kim Johnson. And IHSS is being funded. Things are going fine that way. There is going to be an issue with Medi-Cal. There are going to be people who lose.
I think someone was asking about that, so we can go a little deeper into it in a minute here.
Yeah, so there is going to be changes like that. But if your child's a regional center client, you don't have to worry.
Let's just jump down. And for Sarah Lee, I saw you put a question. We'll get to you, but since we're already talking about it, I'm just going to jump down here. Marissa said, do you guys have any updates regarding the asset limits $2,000 being imposed again by Newsom? So I'll give a little context for people who don't know. The May revision of the 2026, 2027, or whenever it takes effect, the new budget for the state of California was released. Now, this is not the final. It's absolutely going to be this way, but this is the governor's final position on it, and then the assembly, the cabinet, or and
that's what I was part of.
The representatives in the Congress.
We discussed the budget.
Okay, so they're going to be having their discussions. If there's issues that they have with it, they'll be hearing from the public and all of that, and then there will be votes and discussions and a final decision made. But essentially, the proposal is that they're going to reinstate the $2,000 asset limit on Medi-Cal. Now, I think this is for specifically non-Magi Medi-Cal. Do you know if that's correct?
So
I've gotten the rundown from Lisa Ramsey a couple times, but it's complicated.
It is complicated, and I'm not saying I'm the expert on it. But what I've learned, I will tell you, when I was part of this budget meeting, there was a lot of people very upset because 20 years ago this was the financial limit. Yeah, and things have changed. So yes, I think it's the people that apply for Medi-Cal and because they're poor, but they have some assets. So you cannot have, if you're a single person, you cannot have more than 2,000 in assets. If you're a married couple, 3,000. And so I had a lady I swim with, because I swim every day that I can. And she was saying she's got a bum shoulder and she's on SSDI, I'm sorry. And this is going to change for her because she has a 401k. And you can access your 401k. So that's not going to protect your assets, like there will not be protected from what I'm being told. But a good person for people to talk to is Lisa Ramsey with MediHelper. She's one of my close friends. She's a fabulous person. She has a lot of knowledge. And so you can always reach out to her online. It's medihelper.com.
And just so you know, Marissa, I believe our plan is that next week we're going to have a Q&A and we'll be a little bit more prepared with any other updates regarding the budget proposal. And we might brainstorm some ideas of details about the Medi-Cal asset limit, things like that. But yeah, I'll just say this is something that it came up again last year where they had said they were going to put it all the way down 2,000. There was a lot of pushback.
There's a lot of pushback.
And the compromise was that they instead went back to I think it's the 2024 limit where it was 130,000, which is a pretty big difference, right? But
and that's definitely going to go away.
Now they're trying to drop it again.
Yeah.
Well, there may be room to negotiate between us.
There could be a compromise again this year because, like you said, it was 20 years ago that 2,000 was the limit, and in this day and age, it doesn't take a whole lot to get over that.
No.
Over that cap. So
well, I do know at the budget meeting I was part of, they did say that they expect in the next year to 25% of Medi-Cal patients will lose their Medi-Cal.
That's a big number.
But that's not our population, so mom and dads don't get worried.
Yeah. Those disabilities are
different.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine.
All right, let's go to I think we have a couple more questions here. Bricerli, sorry again if I'm missaying your name. Do we have to give our social worker a copy of the child's IEP, or can we decline since the IEP is educational? This is a big question we've dealt with so many times.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so if you're our client, we don't give it to them unless we have gone over it ourselves, and if necessary, we have our special ed advocate go over it and even write a letter. And so we have ways to get around. I'm not going to share all those because they're kind of our property, intellectual property. But no, you don't have to. The problem is it is outside of the home. So out of one side of the mouth, the social workers and the judges say it's only what happens in the home we're talking about. Out of the other side of their mouth, they'll say, I want the IEP to see how the kid's doing at school. It doesn't make sense. However, it is not required that you give the IEP. The problem is a judge wants it. And if you say no to a judge, that doesn't go over well.
Yeah.
So we help our families get that IEP looking good. If you're one of our clients and you're watching, you know that one of the services that you get when you're a member of Galt Advocacy is we review your IEP every year to make sure it looks good. So you don't have problems with IHSS.
Yeah.
But no, it's not, you don't have to, but it doesn't look good if you don't.
It's one of those things that even when you get to the point of being in a hearing with a judge, technically, by law, you can refuse to provide the document, and that's not supposed to affect the judge's decision. But realistically, we kind of we know judges are human, and they see someone trying to withhold a document, and they're going to question that person's honesty, right?
Now, if our advocate writes a letter, and I won't say what that letter has in it, but all the information that we provide to the judge, it helps. And then the IEP isn't relied upon too much. Now, when you're going into court, you have evidence. So we bring evidence, and judges weigh evidence. And you've probably seen the scale of justice that Lady Liberty or whoever she is holds. I always think of Judge Judy.
Yeah.
She pulls her little thing up because I watch her. I love her. Your IEP weighs a lot. They take a lot. But your testimony doesn't weigh much, but you have to testify. Why doesn't your testimony matter? Because you're going to come out with some money on the other end. Social workers' testimony weighs pretty good. unless you could show that the social worker has twisted your information. And we see that all the time.
Mhm.
So really, I recommend no one ever go in front of a judge on their own.
Let's see. Teresa. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm covering Myra with this question. Think tall. My daughter's special interest is the calendar and time, and even though she knows the days of the week and can tell time, she still gets very upset that after midnight the date changes. She does not understand why the date isn't the same as it was earlier, even though I've told her over and over again that after midnight the day changes. An excellent example of memory, orientation, and judgment being impaired all while knowing the date and time. Yeah, so that goes back to. So I'm going to take that off so we can still see you. That goes back to talking about, how someone might be, especially autistic children, might be quite advanced in some aspects of their understanding, but
I get that.
Still missing very
Yes.
large parts of their judgment or. Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, when you get in front of a judge, you don't get the opportunity to explain all that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we try to work with the social workers and get all this information out to this in the social worker and have them write it down, because the judge will read that.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, the fact that your daughter knows the date because you drilled her throughout the day. My daughter Molly does, but it's because she sees on my car it says May 23 and 2 p.m. Well, she doesn't read worth beans, but she's seen that, so many times on my car, she'll say it. Now, the fact that you have drilled it into her, I think can be explained at the home assessment. And if it's explained at the home assessment, the social worker should have put it into the notes. Now, for us, we would put that into our position statement for a judge if a person was denied based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Memory, a judge will ask, do they have a tablet or TV? Do they know how to turn it on and off? Do they know their birth date? Do they know how old they are? Do they know your address? Do they know what city they live in? Do they know what president it is? And so it's not like if they know some of that, it's not good. A lot of kids know some of it. A lot of our individuals that we serve know some of that information.
Mm-hmm.
Because they hear it.
Well, and sometimes it'll be something as simple as, do they know their parents' name? And it's like, what
Mommy,
child of
Daddy.
any level of functioning, almost every child will be able to figure out that much at least.
Well, I think it's funny because the parents are like, does the judge or the social worker mean my given name, Myra, or Mommy?
Mm-hmm.
And if your loved one doesn't know your given name, that's pretty important. Now, my girls with Down syndrome, they know if they say, what's your mom's name? They'll say Myra. Now, if it's Emily, can't understand her, or she'll go, because she stutters so bad. So those little nuances are things that we like to bring out at the home assessment for the social worker.
Okay. All right, we got a few more here. We said, perfect. Maybe Lisa can come on again in the near future to explain further. I think that would be a great idea. I don't know. Do we have a plan to bring Lisa on soon? I hope we do. But yeah, absolutely. Especially if it looks like this change is going to go through. Especially if it looks like the Medi-Cal asset limit is going to be reintroduced. It'd be a really great idea to have Lisa on again. So yes, thank you for that. Veronica said, what about homeschooled clients and IHSS?
Actually, those go over really well. I think a lot of the judges, I know a few of them actually kind of admire a parent who chooses to do that. So if they're homeschooled, the one thing, and we have a school here because I oversee homeschoolers. I keep their records and manage their cases. But what you need to know is if you're homeschooling your child, you need to tell the social worker you need to give the social worker a layout of your day. So they know that your child is not just sitting around watching TV. Because a lot of people who don't understand homeschooling assume that your kid is just lazy, And so even though your child has special needs, write down the kinds of things you do. Like in the morning, we might do chores, and then we do a little, we work on phonics, and then we work on this, and then we go out in the garden and we play we plant little flowers, and then we might go to the park. So you're going to write out a schedule so that the social worker knows you're not just sitting around or being lazy or not wanting to deal with the school district.
Okay. Debbie has a good question here. Says, can you take your child into the court to meet the judge?
Well, everything now is done via Zoom or by phone. And if you said to the judge, I want an in-person, the judge shows up on a screen and you're in person at the county with your enemy. So nowadays we do videos, we do Zoom. And if I have a child who is going to run amok the whole time, we want to do a Zoom, I make sure the parent has someone else there, because at some point we got to really be serious with the judge, but the judge can see the child running amok around the circles and so on. I usually do video court with teenagers and adults, because
there's a clear, very obvious distinction. This person at their age, if they were neurotypical, should be able to carry on a totally normal conversation with the judge. Right. But
now I recommend that for the social work. Now, remember, I'm always talking judges, but what comes in front of a judge is what happened in the home. So it's important that you get videos of your child eloping or climbing up on top of the counters. I have a guy, we got a video, he was standing in front of the TV and he was just wigging out and started slapping himself and banging his head. Showed that to the judge. So those kind of videos are really helpful. If it's a younger child, if they're running around naked, you need to find a way to blur certain parts. Judges get very offended at that. But yeah, video that you take and give it to the social worker, because you see, if you didn't do it at the home assessment, you're more likely to lose in court.
All right. Teresa, not the one from earlier, who's trying to cover up your face again, says, Civility Rights of California wrote that the federal government, quote, will withhold over $1 billion in federal Medicaid payments from California, which, quote, threatens critical supports for hundreds of thousands of people with disabilities and other adults who rely on IHSS to live safely in their homes and communities. Can you comment on this?
Well, what I learned...
Well, I mean, what I'll say is, from what we've seen in the budget proposal, it doesn't seem like it's, at least not in terms of disabled and older adult communities. It doesn't seem like that's who's being affected by any changes.
When I was at the budget meeting, I was impressed, maybe positive and negatively. Our general fund in California is going to try and fill the gaps from the federal government taking things away. So how that's going to end up, I don't know. I'm really not the expert to ask on that. Thanks, Teresa.
What I will say, because I did take a look at the summary of the budget proposal, and near the beginning of it, there was some comments, and I don't know if this is in spite of the federal government or if this was put in there before this thing with the federal government happened, but what they had said was there was some number of billions, 12 billion or something like that, more revenue in the state than had been expected in January when they first proposed the budget. So I think over the last 5 months or so, the state itself has generated a lot more money to cover these programs than what they previously thought. And I think it's a lot more money that they made than what's being taken away.
Now,
because it seems like, at least as far as IHSS is concerned, there's pretty much nothing being done to affect families.
Well, actually, the budget, the general fund is going to push in 33 point something billion dollars in this next year for IHSS. And the reason behind it is one we all know here in our office. If your child is in the CFCO program, which is what most of our kiddos are in, it's a Medi-Cal program. You don't know, there's different ones. And that one has regulations that the counties have not been following. So when the counties don't follow those regulations, the state penalizes them by withdrawing state funding. So then the county is paying their workers and our IHSS families out of county funds, which is a good reason to want to deny. So our government, our state budget is pushing in 33 point something billion to rectify that, to give the counties help to get themselves going in the right direction. That should help our families as well. So it's a good news thing in the sense that parents are so afraid they're going to lose their IHSS. You're not. If you're our client and we're there with you every year at your home assessment, we make sure to protect you. If you don't have us and you're doing it on your own, hopefully the little bits of advice I'm giving will help you. But I will say they've been on a track the last year, since March of last year, to go into the homes and take away protective supervision. We're getting calls every single day from people all over the state that have had it for years and it was just taken away. Even elderly people we have one lady, they took it away, and we have a video her daughter took of her. She's trying to climb over the couch like kids do, and then she falls, and they took it away from her. She doesn't know who people are in the home. So they're taking it away from people who really need protective supervision because they're trying to save on the budget. So if you have protective supervision and you're not a client of ours, just be warned that at your next assessment, you should probably be on the alert. They're sending a different social worker than what you've had in the past, fresh eyes, and then they're staying a little longer, maybe 10 minutes longer than the one the year before. They're asking you questions that weren't asked the year before and surprising you and taking you off guard. So we're seeing this. I'm getting those calls every single day.
All right, Christy had a follow-up question to your comment earlier about videos, the children. That is a video of a 4-year-old ASD girl in a diaper but hurting herself appropriate to share with the judge, or should it still be blurred?
No, that's fine. That would be fine. We've had people video of their children in the bathtub with siblings, things like that. The judges don't like that, and the social workers, if you give it to them, they're going to show it to a judge. So, and here's the other deal. Many times the social workers won't take the videos. So then we get in court and we put them in for evidence, and the judges say, well, why didn't you give these to the social worker? And we're like, we tried. So yes, videos of your child engaging in behaviors are very, very helpful.
Now, I know, I just want to bring this up as another caveat, because I know in the past, at least, we have had some difficulty with judges when, if the child is in the video hurting themselves, that some judges take issue with the fact that the parent is taking a video of it rather than stopping the behavior. Are you still seeing that as a problem, or is there something else we can do about it?
That's a personal bias or preference on a judge's part. Often when we represent someone, we're telling the judge, Your Honor, we ask the parents to take some videos. Normally they would not video behaviors because they're intervening, but we've asked them to take some videos so that we can show the court and the social worker how serious the need is. So, but it's a preference of a judge. Most of the judges I've worked with actually appreciate, especially when you've got your Ring door camera and it's got the little kid running out the front door, mom running after him yelling.
Yeah, that's perfect. If it's a camera that's already set up, if it's a security camera, something that captures it, that's ideal.
Those are perfect.
But I've heard, maybe not exactly in these words, but I feel like I've heard judges say, if this behavior was really that dangerous, then you wouldn't be pulling out your phone and take a video of it.
Well, that's the benefit of having a professional working with you, because the professional will explain. And so if you have in our office here, we rarely go to court and represent anyone that had us at their home assessment. It's usually people calling us that did it on their own. Yeah, we have to go to court, because when you're at the home assessment, you can give all this to the social worker, and then you don't have to worry about all that.
Christy did follow up briefly and said their social worker didn't look at the pictures or videos.
Not surprising, but that's.
I mean, they're supposed to, though.
Yeah,
they're supposed to take them. Yeah. Let's see. Joanna said, "Is protective supervision may take away from those who are conserved as well?"
Yep.
Everyone, really. I mean,
there's
no guarantees that you're going to keep protective supervision ever.
No, our clients over the years, I think in the last 17 years, we've only had about 5 of our clients.
It's rare. It's rare for us
to
lose it.
We got it back for them. But yes, we're getting calls every age, every situation. We've had teenagers who have had it for 6, 7, 8 years since they were toddlers, for example, and they're losing it. And nothing has changed. Their care is exactly the same. But so there's nothing that will protect you like that other than a professional.
All right. Let's see. Johnny said, our kids have PS. For their annual review, do we need to show that we visit their neurologist every year? How about the SOC form? Do we need a new one every year? Thank you much.
It doesn't hurt to get a new SOC 821 form signed by your doctor. You can get it off the internet.
That's the one that says memory, orientation, and judgment, for anyone who doesn't know it by name.
And you don't need the one you originally had to get, the SOC 873. That's a one-time thing only. But the 821, the SOC 821 on mental impairment, doesn't hurt to have one every year if your doctor's willing. And it's best if it's filled out by a neurologist, psychiatrist, psychologist, but your regular pediatrician can too. If they're only seeing the doctor once a year, then if it were to go in front of a judge would say, how often do you see this doctor? Well, how does the doctor know your child engages in these behaviors? So if you get an SOC 821, you want to have the doctor that sees them the most fill it out. And you want that doctor to put words under each category. A lot of times the doctors just check severe, severe, severe. And we need words. Like the doctor needs to say, why is little Johnny's memory poor? You know, he can't remember his birthday. He can't remember his address. He can't remember some samples. And under orientation and judgment, having the judge and the doctor put information in there, not just checking it off.
And we don't mean you, Johnny. We know that you understand all these things. She just always uses Johnny as her example of.
We have a John in the office. I call him Johnny. He's my sample. It's your uncle.
Yeah, I know. All right, I'm just going to jump down here real quick. Fast said, sorry, I hopped on late. What's the main topic of discussion? I mean, officially, our topic of discussion is highlights from the seminar, but really, just ask Myra anything you want to know. She's here for all of us today. So, but we only have a few minutes left. So if you have any questions for Myra specifically, you only have for this week only. So ask your questions.
You can always call and get on my calendar. I have lots of extra time now.
Ask your questions quick because we gotta hop off soon and leave time for the Spanish advocate. So
I got to do this all over in Spanish.
Oh man, I gotta attempt this one.
Okay.
Ariaga. Okay, close enough.
Miss Lou.
Miss Lou, thank you. I was told my kiddo didn't qualify for PS because it's reserved for kids who are extreme and cannot be regulated.
Well, that's helpful.
I mean, depending on how you think of it, I guess that's true.
Well, I would say get on my calendar and I'll tell you whether or not your child is eligible, because we hear everything. We hear, oh, they're too young, or they need to be more like this or more like that, or they're self-directed. It says so in the IEP. All this, if you think your child is eligible, don't hesitate. Get on my calendar. It's free. You don't have to pay me anything. If you want to become our client, we'll help you.
Yeah.
But if we can help you, we don't take every case.
Yeah. The actual, whatever they told you, the actual requirement is that the person has to be non-self-directed and likely to engage in unsafe behavior due to a mental impairment. That's the shortest way to put it. If they told you anything else of like, oh, well, they have to be hitting themselves at least twice a day, or they have to be eloping at least every day. They have to have been hospitalized because of something they did. All of that's just nonsense that they made up.
That social worker is trying to save herself or himself time. They don't want to do the assessment. And
okay, Lucy, that works. We'll go with that. Thank you. Christy said, I took a video from my daughter's psychologist. I always intervene, but he wanted to see the specific behavior, so I took the video. Okay, yeah, that's a good thing to tell the social worker or the judge if they ask, like, why. Yeah,
see, my doctor asked me.
Doctor specifically asked to see it happen. So there you go. Okay, Teresa's requesting this, but let me get to the people's questions first, and then we can come back to this if we still have time. All right, we'll close with this if we have time. All right, Johnny said, social worker always asks us to sign the info release form in every annual renewal. Can we say no? Did we just do a video about? Okay, I feel like we talked about this a lot at a recent live
You
or
don't
short
have
or
to sign the
something.
release. It is your right to say no. It's your child, your loved one.
Mhm.
They still have to take care of you. They still have to give you the benefit, but no. And we recommend you don't sign the release of information. That if they want information, they ask you to get it. Or in our case, if you're our client, they ask us to get it. And we, of course, ask you then. So otherwise, what I've seen over the years is when you sign that release of information, a lot of counties will call your school and try and talk to the school about your child behind your back because you've given them permission. They will try to call your doctor. If your doctor's filled out an SOC 821, they'll call your doctor to see if they might change it to not severe. We've seen everything. So
terrible stuff.
It's terrible. Yes. So I recommend you don't sign the release. And when they give you grief about it, if they say, well, then we're not going to process your case, you can say, fine, I'll take it to a judge. And a judge will throw it right back into the county's lap and say, legally, they do not have to sign a release.
I'll say, I remember now, it was last week, our live stream, like a third or half of the live stream was just talking about the release of information. And I was sharing some stories that I've heard about really bad stuff that's happened with the release. So I think, because you said you didn't want to hurt your case or sound defensive, I think it's completely reasonable to say, I don't want a random stranger from the government going and talking to my child's doctor behind my back. Right.
That's right.
It's a thing that's very reasonable to say that's too much for me. I don't want that to happen.
Right.
All right, let's get through these real quick,
Yeah,
fast. Got a couple of minutes. My daughter was denied PS once again, despite the SOC 821 being filled out by the neurologist in great detail. Of course, I appealed. It's currently in process. Well, keep on asking us questions. And of course, we always advise if you're going to a hearing, it's good to get help.
Yeah, most parents
doesn't have to be us, but we always advise seeking out assistance from a professional one way or another.
There's not very many professionals out there doing what we do, so it's hard to find. And some of them charge a lot of money just to help you with an appeal.
Mm-hmm.
That to me isn't okay. So just know, I hate to say it this way, but parents rarely are successful in an appeal.
But we hope you are.
Yes, of course.
We hope and pray, but we advise everyone to seek out assistance wherever possible. Julie said, I'm scared of losing PS. Is it best to hire you to be there for annual reassessment with a social worker, or wait if it's denied and get help with appeal?
We have an assurance program. That's where people who already have protective supervision can come on board and be one of our clients. And then we're there every year for them out there. You can call our front desk and get information. We call it the assurance program, not insurance, but assurance. And the goal is to keep you from losing it. And usually if we're there, you won't lose it.
And one other thing is that if in the case that we are there and they do try and take it away, it is like 1,000 times easier for us to then fight in a hearing than if we weren't at the assessment and it gets denied and you come to us to fight the hearing. There's a good chance there's just nothing we can do at that point.
Yeah. And a lot of times parents that have done it themselves and they're appealing and they hire us and they want me to help them. And we don't take money up front. So I'm just letting you all know the poorest person can afford our services. But when I get the position statement from the social worker that's being presented to the judge, many, many times I say 9 out of 10 of those cases where we weren't present, the parent says, I didn't say that. Did the social worker say I said that? Yeah. I didn't say it that way. I said it this way. So a lot of the information that you give to the social worker, if there's not a person that's a professional there, they twist what you say and then they tell the judge what their twisted version is.
And at that point, there's not really anything we can do. We weren't there to say, oh no, that's not what was said. That's not how it went down.
Right.
Nobody was there. It's your word against theirs. And we can't fix that at that point. So, all right. Rapid fire, last couple ones. Johnny again said, and thank you for everyone for the great comments. It's always lovely to have some things to talk about and bounce back and forth with you guys.
I can always find things to talk about.
Oh, of course. We could ramble on forever if we needed to. We will be traveling out of state in the summer. It's close to the annual renewal time frame. Should we cancel the trip or just let my social worker know? You
should definitely let your social worker know that you're traveling. And If you're going out of the country, that's a big deal. If you're going, you need to let your social worker know. And let them, and if you're on the CFCO program, and it's that they have to assess every 12 months. And if you have a child and they're a regional center client, more than likely you're on the CFCO program. So you need to let your social worker know.
Yeah, especially like you said, if they're on CFCO, it's probably necessary. They would have to push up the assessment and do it sooner.
Earlier.
Because they get a big fee every month they don't do the.
Well, that's why many of the counties are now, they've had state funding withdrawn.
Yeah.
And that's why they're taking away the protective supervision, because they have lost their state funding.
But yeah, as long as you're within the country, you're fine, as long as it's clear you're going to return back and you let the social worker know. If you go out of the country, once you're past 30 days, you just get cut off. All right. Adriana said, you guys represented me, and right before I was going to get my appeal, person representing me, Adriana, dropped me. Is that normal? Not very normal.
No.
So we don't know what the situation is, but
I have to look up your case. We will drop at the last minute if we get the position statement from the county, which we only get 2 days before the hearing. And it says some really bad stuff about you. We don't want to be, if we go to court and you lose, what parents don't understand is when you lose in court, you get a denial. That's a court order denying your child protective supervision. That holds a ton of weight in the county's eyes. So that means to get it back or to get it at the next assessment, you're gonna have a heck of a time doing that, because you now have a court order denying it. So we will drop a case and tell the parent, let's just drop the hearing and let's go back to the drawing board, go back into a home assessment, because we don't want to risk you really getting a court order denying. So that's the only time we drop a case.
Okay. All right. Last question before we got to wrap up, because it's almost 1 o'clock. Fast 805 said, where/how can I get in contact with your agency? Do you represent in all counties? I'm located in San Luis Obispo.
We are all over California. In fact, if anyone wants to move, call and let me tell you where you should not move to. I know which counties you shouldn't live in. San Luis Obispo is an okay area. You can call us at 707-566-7600 and push 0, and you'll get our front desk. You'll get Michelle or Tina, and they can help you get a free consult where you can find out how we could help you, if we can help you. Like I said, we take no money up front. Everything is contingent on whether or not we help you get the benefit. And then you get long-term services with us for no additional fees.
All right. So we have 1 minute till 1 o'clock. I mean, I don't see the Spanish ladies trying to grab us. Do we have time for your conservatorship story, do you think?
Which one?
About when you got your 3 conserved.
Oh, yes. Parents get really worried about conservatorship. So I got my 3 conserved with one of the attorneys that worked for me. I still had to pay him, but it's not cheap. I am hoping to help people learn to do that in the next year in my retirement. But
Semi-retirement.
So what happens is an investigator comes to your house and interviews you. A court investigator. Don't worry, they're not scary. They're nice people. They're just making sure you have the right reasons and motives. And so here we are. We're going to court this day. And whenever they do conservatorship court in my county, that whole floor, they don't do anything else, because you got people like my kids in there. So we're in the hall waiting for our turn. And you've got my son, Steven, who's nonverbal, and he comes in and he's got his neck pillow. It vibrates. And we had him all set up so he'd be comfortable. Vibrating neck pillow. He has earphones in, and he has MP3 player back in that day. And it's playing Pink. Now, if you know Pink, it's a little upbeat, right? We can't hear it, but he can. So he's going like this. Emily, my daughter Emily.
Steven's having a great time.
Oh, yeah, he's happy. Emily and Steven cannot breathe the same air. Well, he can breathe, but she can't. So she can't stand this. So she goes to the end of the hall, and she's sitting there yelling, "Shut up, Steven! Shut up, Steven!" And Molly, everywhere Molly goes, she's got her bag of Barbies. They're her friends. There's like 30 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So she's sitting there with her Barbies like this, you know, making them talk to each other. So we look like the 3-ring circus.
Molly's a sweetheart.
She is.
Absolutely.
She is. So it's time to go into the courtroom. And Molly walks in and Stephen walks in and Stephen sits down in front of the judge. And Molly's playing Barbies. And Emily's still out in the hallway yelling, "Shut up, Stephen." So the bailiff comes to get her. What does a bailiff look like?
All dressed up in uniform and a badge and a
He
big
looks like
gold
a
hat.
policeman.
Yep, he does.
Well, Emily has a police record. She was my eloper, and so the police would have to go find her all the time. So in our town, everybody knew Emily, all the cops. So he comes out and he says, "Come on, little girl, time to go in with your mommy." And she looks at him and she says, "Oh no, big trouble, policeman." She runs into the courtroom. But as soon as she gets in front of the judge, what does she hear? So in front of the judge, she's screaming, "Shut up, Stephen." And the judge looks at me and he kind of had this attitude like, "You poor woman." He goes, they're conserved. They're conserved. And the attorney that the state had given it, she comes up and she hugs me and she goes, "You're a saint." I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a 3-ring circus at my house.
Yep. It can be, but
Well, it's good to be here.
we love them.
Now that I got all this extra time, you can have me on more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not in court all the time.
All right. Well, we gotta go now.
I got to do this all
Before we
over
go,
in
Stephanie said
Spanish.
thank you for all you do, and we echo that. Thank you, Myra, for everything. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Are you gonna be on with for
Yes, I'm doing Spanish. I'm
You're
doing this all over in
gonna
Spanish.
do it all over again. So if you speak Spanish, you can show up to our Spanish Live, where Myra are gonna be kind of talking about some of the same stuff, but maybe there'll be some different questions, maybe some different discussions will break out. So thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you all next time.